Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk. I'm Ed Schoaps.
And I'm Ann McBride. Ed and I are here the first and third Fridays of the month to bring you all the news and interviews about what's happening in the Mid-Willamette Valley theater world.
On today's program, Ann and I talk with our friend Scott Ramp about auditions happening November 9th for Pentacle Theatre's first show of its 2025 season. It's the classic comedy Arsenic and Old Lace.
In our second segment, Ed and I talk with director Joellen Sweeney, choreographer Megan Swanson, and lead actor Nick Zimmerman from Willamette University's production of Urinetown the Musical, opening tonight and running through November 17th in the Pelton Theatre. But first, let's get started with the Theater Talk calendar.
Albany Civic Theater is at albanycivic.org. A one-night performance of Grace and Glory, directed by Rick Wallace, plays November 2nd at Albany Civic. Irving Berlin's White Christmas runs November 29th through December 21st at Albany Civic Theater. We'll have an interview with the director on our November 15th KMUZ Theater Talk program and podcast.
Bridgetown Conservatory Salem is on Facebook and at bridgetownconservatory.org. After running in Portland December 5th through 8th, Bridgetown's GI Holiday Jukebox, a holiday stage door canteen, moves to the Verona Studio in Salem's Reed Opera House December 12th through 15th. See the Bridgetown Conservatory website or Facebook page for tickets. Bridgetown is also accepting audition submittals for The Man in the Ceiling, directed by Vincenzo Maduri. The show will rehearse in Salem and play both in Salem and Portland, February 13th through 21st. Listen to our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast to hear Executive Director Rick Lewis tell us about Bridgetown's classes featuring triple threat training from musical theater professionals at their new location in downtown Salem.
The Elsinore Theater is at elsinoretheater.com, and you can find information about local events and touring shows on stage at the Elsinore on their website and Facebook page.
Gallery Theater at gallerytheater.org. The darkly comic rock fable Fly By Night runs through November 3rd at Gallery Theater. This show is getting great reviews across the board, so don't miss it. It's a sweeping ode to young love, set against the backdrop of the Northeast blackout of 1965, and is directed by Seth Rennie. You can hear more about the show in our interview with Seth on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast. And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the musical about a flying car, runs November 22nd through December 15th at Gallery Theater. It's directed by Katrina Godders.
Kaiser Homegrown Theater is at kaiserhomegrowntheater.org and on Facebook. And the Thanksgiving play is on stage at Kaiser Homegrown Theater November 1st through 17th. It's a wickedly funny satire on politically correct theater by Larissa Fasthorse. Good intentions collide with irrational assumptions as a group of teachers scramble to create a pageant that somehow manages to celebrate both Turkey Day and Native American Heritage Month. You can learn more on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast interview with director Mia Apodaca and two actors from the show.
The Majestic Theater is on Facebook and at majestic.org. Little Shop of Horrors is playing on the Majestic Theater stage through November 10th. It's directed by Ruth Manziger. Submissions are open through December 15th for the Majestic 8 10-minute play festival, showcasing 8 short plays by Oregon and Washington playwrights. The Majestic is looking for new plays with 2 to 5 characters that run 10 minutes or less, with a simple set and minimal lights and sound requirements.
Mid-Valley Productions is on Facebook at Mid-Valley Productions and at midvalleyproductions.org. The holiday favorite, It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio show, plays December 13th through 15th at the Russell Tripp Performance Center. For tickets and info, visit the Mid-Valley Productions website and Facebook page.
For the Mid-Valley Theater Network, catch it before it's gone, Evil Dead the Musical, closes November 3rd on the Chemeketa Community College stage. You can hear all about the show from choreographer Nate Price and vocal director Stacia Purdy on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast. This production of Evil Dead the Musical will benefit the Mid-Valley Theater Network and its member theaters. Check out the Do the Necronomicon-Salem Facebook page and website for more information.
Pentacle Theatre is at pentacletheatre.org. Footloose, the musical, runs through November 2nd at Pentacle Theatre. Footloose is sold out, but there are always a few no-show seats available for every performance at the door. But show up early to get on the sign-up list. Auditions for the classic comedy Arsenic and Old Lace happen November 9th at the downtown Pentacle Rehearsal Studio. This first show of Pentacle's 2025 season runs January 31st through February 22nd and is directed by Scott Ramp. We'll have an interview with Scott later in today's program. Miss Bennett, Christmas at Pemberley by Lauren Gunderson and Margot Melcon, plays at Pentacle Theatre November 29th through December 21st. It's directed by Jennifer Jimshevsky. And Joe Dodge's acting workshop for actors 18 and older fall session is underway now at Pentacle Theatre's rehearsal studio in downtown Salem. To sign up for Joe's acting workshops, go to tickets.pentacletheatre.org or see the Pentacle Theatre Facebook page.
The Salem Playhouse at thesalemplayhouse.com offers acting classes for both kids and adults. To sign up, go to thesalemplayhouse.com and click on the Classes tab.
Spotlight Community Theater is at spotlightct.com and on Facebook. A new musical adaptation of J.M. Barrie's classic story of Peter Pan runs February 6th through 16th at Spotlight. It's directed by Shannon Rempel.
Theater 33 at Willamette University is at theater33.org and on Facebook. Theater 33 is bringing back their popular performance of a 1940s radio play, A Christmas Carol. It opens December 6th and plays through December 14th.
On the college front, Corbin University is at corbin.edu, and Fools by Neil Simon, directed by Tamara McGinnis, plays November 14th through 24th. You can find our interview with Tamara on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast.
Western Oregon University at wou.edu/theater. The WOU Theater 24-25 season kicks off November 14th through 23rd with The Other Shore by Gao Xinjian, directed by Michael Phillips.
Willamette University is at wutheater.com. WU Theater's 2024-25 season opens November 1st through 17th with Urinetown the Musical, a hilarious satire set in a city that bans private toilets during a 20-year drought. Get more information and reserve your tickets at wutheater.com. And stay with us for our interview with director Joellen Sweeney and two members of the production team coming up later in today's program.
Now for the high schools. South Albany High School at SAHS Theater Arts. A production of the classic play Steel Magnolias plays November 8th through 16th. They're setting it in 1959 to highlight how far diabetic care and research have advanced in honor of November being Diabetes Awareness Month. A portion of the box office revenue will be donated to OHSU Diabetes Center.
Dallas High School is at dhstheater.org and on Facebook at Dallas High School Thespians and Theater. Clue on Stage closes tomorrow, November 2nd at Dallas High School. See their Facebook page for show and ticket information.
McKay High School on Facebook at McKay Thespians. They are doing a series of student-directed one-acts November 8th through 16th.
McNary High School is on Facebook at McNary High School Theater. Trap plays November 13th through 16th at McNary, followed by The Little Mermaid, January 23rd through February 1st.
North Salem High School on Facebook at NSHS Theater, and they are doing a holiday one-act in December.
South Salem High School is on Facebook at Saxon Drama, and the perennial holiday favorite, A Christmas Carol, plays December 6th through 15th at South Salem High.
Sprague High School is doing Urinetown the musical, and it plays December 6th through 15th at Sprague.
West Salem High School is at westsalemdrama.com. Between the Lines is on stage November 14th through 23rd at West Salem High. And that wraps up today's KMUZ Theater Talk calendar for plays around the Mid-Willamette Valley.
Today's first guest is our friend Scott Ramp, who joins us to talk about auditions happening November 9th for Pentacle Theatre's first show of its 2025 season. It's the classic comedy, Arsenic and Old Lace. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk, Scott.
Well, hello, Ann and Ed.
Hey, this is a real chestnut. It's a great play. It's one of the most popular comedies ever written. And it's a Black comedy. Scott, tell us a little bit about your approach to this play and why you wanted to do this one after all these years.
Well, one of the things that I have loved about, well, not just Arsenic and Old Lace, but I always think that every theater should have at least one classic chestnut in its season, because I think that kind of anchors the theater of the present into the past. And this is such a great one because it's one of the first comedies that ran so very long on Broadway, well over 3.5 years. And ironically, it came out or it opened on Broadway not long before America entered World War II. So there's a lot of 1941 era references in this. And part of the reason the show became popular was because not too long after it opened, we got into the war. And a lot of people thought that theater would close or that people wouldn't want a comedy. And in fact, that's why it was so popular. It was sold out almost every single day of its run.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm.
The papers are grim. Let's just go to the theater and forget all our troubles.
And then they come and see something grim yet funny on stage because this is a Black comedy. Tell us a little bit about that, Scott.
Well, it's basically a play that has literally never probably been off stage in all of these years since. It's either playing somewhere professionally, high schools, community theaters, regional theaters. It's been revived on Broadway 3 different times. People should be quite familiar with it, but if they're not, Arsenic and Old Lace basically tells the story of the Brewster sisters. And they're these two older adult sisters. They live with their youngest nephew, and they have this unfortunate habit of lovingly and out of all great intentions poisoning lonely old men so that they're not lonely anymore and burying them in the cellar. And as the play progresses and the one main character, their nephew Mortimer, who doesn't live there anymore, but is pretty much the central character, discovers what they're doing, and he's horrified. And it's just a comedy of errors, but like you said, it's a Black comedy. It deals with death. Mortimer's evil brother, who's a serial killer, comes back, and he's been disguised through plastic surgery, and because his plastic surgeon who accompanies him was drunk, he looks like Boris Karloff. I mean, there's a whole bunch of inside jokes, I guess, at the time when it was written and as it played, was that the role of Jonathan Brewster originally on Broadway was played by Boris Karloff. So when they mention that he looks like Boris Karloff, he loses his mind almost every single time as an insult. And then ironically, when the movie was going to be made in Hollywood, they wouldn't let Boris Karloff out of his contract on Broadway. So the part went to Raymond Massey, who was made up to look like Boris Karloff.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's some funny things. And, his doctor's name is Dr. Einstein. And so when that was right at the height of, Albert Einstein, so they said, Dr. Einstein, no, not that Einstein, this Einstein. And there's funny references in there to one of the sisters saying that she's really tired of this war effort for the flour shortages because now she can't get the right kind of flour to bake her cakes. And I'm beginning to think that this Mr. Hitler isn't a Christian. And you're like, oh, Lord. I mean, it's set where it is in 1941, but it is a really fun story. It deals with, how do we want to say this? It deals with mental illness, but it deals with it in a humorous way. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not in an offensive way. And that's one of the things that I want to get across in my approach to it too. It's not meant to be an offensive look at that. It's meant to be able to laugh at yourself.
Well, you've got the two sweet little old ladies.
Their nephew who thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. You've got Teddy Roosevelt. You've got Boris Karloff.
Mhm.
It's a delight for people who know and love this play and have seen it. And it's going to be a laugh fest for anybody, even if they
Oh,
haven't seen it.
I'm sure it will.
Your auditions are probably going to be a heck of a lot of fun. How are you going to run them, considering that you've got quite a few parts to fill? How much mayhem are you going to want at auditions, Scott?
Well, that's a good question. The interesting part is that there's only 3 women in the play. 2 of them are older women, and one of them is a young woman who is the fiance of Mortimer. And then there's 11 men. So I'm hoping I get a good turnout of men who find the parts really fun. But finding the right Abby and the right Martha is key because they have to play off each other beautifully. And obviously, I need the right person to play the main 3 brothers.
yes.
Mortimer, Jonathan, and Teddy. I'm hoping I get a really good turnout because it's just such a fun show.
It is a wonderful show, a classic play. And I think actors will want to be in it.
So, are you thinking about casting the role of all the little old lonely men as a single actor?
I don't want to, but I'm willing to if I have to. I don't know. I hope not. I'm prepared for all sorts of contingencies.
It's a wonderful play. Why mess with it?
Oh, I don't want to mess with it at all. In fact, my biggest concern, and if somebody hears a 3-act play, they're going to think, oh, God, it's 3 hours long. No, it's actually not. Part of what I've seen, having seen productions of it going all the way back to high school, is that sometimes it's played a little too slow. I like the little faster paced 1930s screwball comedy feel.
Oh, yeah. It's a comedy.
Yeah, I think it needs that.
Yeah, jumping on top of other people's lines, and there's some overspeak. And I'm also really looking forward to helping with the set on this because I want to make this a really beautiful set.
It is a beautiful set in the idea that it's period and it's a time gone by and it's gracious. And it all happens in one set. So you can go to town.
Supposed to be a huge mansion. One character goes down in the cellar because that's Teddy Roosevelt digging Panama Canal locks to put the dead bodies. I'm hoping we can sweep in a bit of a grand staircase and everything else, but we also have to have the window seat where the bodies are discovered.
Oh, yes.
On Pentacle's stage with the thrust, I want to make sure that I play it out into the audience. I don't like playing things too deep back into the stage.
People can go onto the pentacletheatre.org website and click on the auditions link to learn more about each of the characters that are in this show to get a little insight into how auditions are going to go. I assume you're going to have readings from the book. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, I'm going to have sides so that I can get a good feel of how some of the characters interact with each other and which characters they interact the most with. I also would like to ask the people that are going to the website, if you go to the website and you look at the character description, if you're a younger actor and you see something and it says 30s to 45 or something like that, that's considered an ideal range. That's ideally where the actor would fall. But that doesn't mean you can't cast an actor in their 20s. And it doesn't mean you can't cast an actor in their late 40s. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Right, right.
If it says 50s and up and you're like in your 40s, don't go, well, shoot, I guess I can't go.
Well, here's another thing that folks might want to take into account, too, is Scott is a well-known, terrifically talented makeup artist. And so, age range is a suggestion.
It is indeed a suggestion. I'm very open to the casting. I'm hoping that I get 3 of the actors to play the brothers that are all at least somewhat in believable brother range, but they don't have to be that close.
One question I want to ask you, Scott, is this is real personal. I'm gonna ask you to kind of put on a different hat here. If you were going to audition for this show, what part would you like to play?
I think I'd be the most interested in playing Jonathan, which is the serial killer. But honestly, Jonathan and his assistant, Dr. Einstein. The nice thing about this is there's a lot of good roles for older men. There's a lot of funny things in this, and because of my makeup background too, I'm going to have a lot of fun making sure that the Boris Karloff thing
Really
is
look.
interesting because I actually have a copy of Boris Karloff's actual life cast, so
Oh my
that won't be hard for me. I have lots of weird stuff. I just think it's a nice way to start out the season with an old classic. Get people in the seats. Hopefully, bring
Yeah.
people back into the theater. We're doing so
Yes.
much better, but it just this would be really nice to see.
Well, folks, open auditions are November 9th for Arsenic and Old Lace in Pentacle Theatre downtown rehearsal space. That's on the corner of Liberty Street and Ferry Street in downtown Salem. This is going to be a great show. Director Scott Ramp, who's been with us today here on KMUZ Theater Talk, is going to have a ton of fun. They're looking for actors able to play 11 male roles and 3 female roles. For a full list of the roles, genders, and ages, please go to pentacletheater.org and click on the auditions link. Arsenic and Old Lace will run January 31st through February 22nd at Pentacle Theatre. Do plan to come prepared to have a zany time with director Scott Ramp and his team for auditions on November 9th. Thank you so much, Scott, for joining us here on KMUZ Theater Talk.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ann and Ed, for having me on. And I really look forward to a good turnout at auditions on November 9th. And please come see the play. This play appeals to all ages.
And joining us next are director Joellen Sweeney, choreographer Megan Swanson, and lead actor Nick Zimmerman from Willamette University's production of Urinetown, the musical, opening tonight and running through November 17th in the Pelton Theatre. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good morning. So excited to chat with you today.
Urinetown is one of my favorite musicals, Joellen, and I've seen a couple of different productions of it, and I always want to see it again. It's a fun, interesting show to me. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to bring Urinetown to the Willamette University stage.
Sure. Well, Urinetown was the first Broadway musical that I can remember seeing. It toured to Portland in May of 2004, and I just remember being so taken by the music, the humor, the visuals. I was really stunned by it. So back in January, when Susan Cormel from Willamette University Theater approached me about directing, I was really excited to jump in on this material, and the rest is history. And here we are all these months later working with the full team.
And Megan, you're the choreographer of the show. What brought you to the Urinetown team?
Well, I am new to Willamette University. I started teaching dance there last year, and they approached me to come and choreograph Urinetown. And I was so excited because I was able to see the original Broadway cast in 2001. And I remember laughing so much. I found the show so hilarious. And I love that in the show, we get to nod to other iconic dances throughout musical theater. So it's a super, super fun assignment for me to get to do that and see what kind of ways I can find that nod.
And Nick, as an actor, you're coming into this production with a really neat role, playing Lockstock, who is a police presence in this story. This is kind of a zany plot. What delights you being in this show?
I'm a little bit younger than the other two of them, so I did not get to see Urinetown when it originally came out. But I got to say that the Officer Lockstock has a lot of audience interaction. There's quite a few moments where he breaks the fourth wall and is able to talk directly with the audience and reference the fact that they are in a musical and make jokes and do goofs based around what is happening on stage. And for me, I love that. I love being able to do things just a little bit different every single night to work with an audience and build and feed off of their energy. Because to me, one of the best things about live theater is that you're there with the audience and the audience is there with you. And they get to feed off your energy and you feed off of their energy. And it's brilliant.
And having done a long tour, it's different every night.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I have seen the musical and I read a bit about it. I didn't realize it was sort of in the vein of Three Penny Opera. Can you describe the plot synopsis, Joellen?
Yeah, absolutely. So Urinetown tells the story of a society that's been totally devastated by a 20-year drought. And things have gotten so bad, water has become so scarce that in response, private bathrooms have been outlawed. And everyone now has to pay to pee in these public restrooms, which are controlled by a mega corporation called the Urine Good Company. It's very tongue in cheek, but it's a society where the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, the water's getting scarcer. And into this very bleak scene, we have these two young people, Bobby Strong and Hope Cladwell, who happen to meet and through their connection are able to envision a different and a brighter future for their community. So I think on its surface, what the play is dealing with is considering how we go about remaking a broken world. How do we deal with the society we've got and envision a new one? But as Nick and Megan both pointed out, it's very cheeky and it loves nothing more than sending up every possible system organization that we have in our society. So you're going to see capitalism mocked, corporations, the government, the police, the law, but I mean, even love, revolution, and musical theater itself is getting a send up in this. So nobody is safe in the world of Urinetown. Everyone is mocked with equal opportunity.
And everyone's a little pissed off.
Yes.
Well, Megan, how does song and dance work with this show?
Oh, song and dance it's a real fun way that they are able to bring in all of these different elements of almost the music, the musical theater tropes that we have. We have that ballad that is just the lover's ballad that is so perfect. We have one of my favorite numbers is Cladwell. It's the first kind of big dance number we see. And it's just giving 42nd Street, Old Hollywood. So we check that box. We check the box of the plotting of killing somebody called Snuff That Girl, which is one of my favorite numbers. I just said Cladwell was my favorite, but this is also one of my favorites. They're all my children. It's just fun, the amount of different styles of music that are utilized within the show. For Nick's number, he has the most epic patter song that he has to keep time with. It's just a blast.
And I just have to call out, Megan's work on this is so extraordinary. And if you are a fan of the golden age of musical theater, if you are a musical theater buff, you are going to be so rewarded with the Easter eggs that Megan has placed throughout this production. Every number has been so thoughtfully crafted to reference what the show is referencing. So I really encourage you, if you're on the fence at all because of the title, but you're a musical theater buff, you're going to love this. So come on out.
Thank you, Joellen. I appreciate that. Yeah, something that was really fun at this long rehearsal schedule that we were able to have was not only saying here's a West Side Story reference we're going to do, but to be able to actually show the actors what we're referencing, being able to pull source footage for every single one of the numbers and go, this is exactly what I'm referencing. And diehard musical theater people will be able to see that, appreciate it, and feel seen. So thank you, Joellen.
What a great project for a college.
It is, yeah.
So educational, so edgy.
Yeah.
Joellen, what do you think the audiences will take away from this production?
I mean, above all, I hope they'll laugh. I think the show is so smart and it's so thoughtful in its choice to take these really big problems. I mean, climate disaster is a huge problem. Drought is a huge problem. And yet we're able to approach it from this side angle where we're allowed to laugh at our despair. And I think it's a great way in. So above all, I hope they'll laugh. I think they're going to walk away singing these songs. The music is incredibly catchy and the cast is doing a wonderful job with it. I hope they also I find myself still getting swept away by the story, even though it follows a path that is well trodden by other musicals, and yet it still kind of gets me. I think it works on both levels, right? I fall in love with the characters and their love, and I want them to be together just as much as I laugh at the ridiculousness of the over-the-top lyrics and the over-the-top stylings that they're doing. So I think it works on both levels.
Wow. Nick, what is your favorite part of the play?
I definitely have to say in Act 2, there is a gospel number very similar to Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat from Guys and Dolls called Run, Freedom, Run, in which the rebel poor are singing about fighting for a brand new tomorrow. But it's this beautiful song that is not only hilarious, but is also brilliantly sung by our Bobby Strong, who goes by the name of Pollux, and they are an incredible performer. And the entire cast is doing some really fun choreography with waving of hands and also literally running near the end of the song. The music of that song is incredible. It is probably the catchiest number in the entire show, but it's also beautifully sung, and it's just a joy to watch. That'd probably be my favorite number in the entire show. But I also have some favorite lines as well. Like people, we love to talk about the music, but the actual script for the show is also just full of gems. One that pops into mind is near the Act One finale. We've got the rebel poor hiding, and they spot the cops, and because of the cast size of the show, one of the characters says something along the lines of like, they've got two men, and we're all so poor. And just acknowledging their status as being poor as the thing that makes them, they obviously outnumber us. The satire of it all is just hilarious, and I love hearing it every single night.
How big is the cast?
We have 15.
Yeah, 15.
You know, it's big for Willamette University Theatre, and we certainly fill the space. And at the same time, as we've been rehearsing over the summer, Megan and I were chatting about these major production numbers that we've had, and we've found it's the actual smallest number you really could do Urinetown with. When you come to the show, some actors are doing back-to-back scenes as different characters, back and forth and back and forth. So we have the hardest working ensemble out there. And they are really working the entire 2.5 hours.
Joellen, what have been your challenges and what have been your favorite moments in directing this show?
Oh, wow. One of the challenges is simply that I live in Gresham, Oregon, so I commute to rehearsal every day. That's a truthful challenge is the schedule. But in terms of challenges with the material, I think dialing in the style and really finding that balance point between playing into the satire and really leaning into the humor, but also committing fully to the emotional stakes that the story is asking for. It's life and death for these characters. It's revolution. And they have to commit fully to those stakes while they simultaneously have text that is, over the top silly. So figuring out exactly how we want to dial in that style has been something that the cast has been really wonderful, toggling back and forth and playing as we find those moments. And in terms of my favorite moment, I think a favorite moment happens every day. Anytime someone is discovering something new that delights and surprises us, we have a good laugh in almost every rehearsal. The very first time that we got to see Cop Song, this is the big number that Nick leads and then Megan choreographed. The first time we saw that in rehearsal with the lighting effect that I will not spoil. The cast was just beside themselves, like squealing. And people's excitement to see that every time we rehearse it is so much fun for me. So I think that's the thing that I always look forward to the most in every run. And I can't wait for people to see it in the theater. I'm just so ready.
So are you guys doing this in the thrust stage setting there at Willamette?
We're in the big black box, and
in the black box.
And the set it's awesome. I really wanted a city that dwarfed its citizens, and my gosh, Rob Vaughn, our scenic designer and technical director, and his whole team in the scenic studio, I have to call them out because they've made an enormous and beautiful set. It's arranged in a proscenium style for this production, so we have audience on just one side.
That's good. It mocks traditional, but
yes,
it does need a proscenium.
Well, yeah, I think you're exactly right. In order to mock the traditional, we have to know what that is. We have to be in relationship to that point. So yeah, I think Rob was really smart in his choices around how to organize the space. And we're using the entire theater all the way up to the catwalks. So you'll get a really, I think, a new view of that space than I've ever seen in my time there.
And 15 people will fill that space.
Surprisingly, they do. You'll tell me when you come to the show, but
we'll be brutally honest.
Okay.
Megan, do you have a favorite choreographer's moment in this show too?
I'm with Joellen. It's something new every night that I am delighted and tickled by. Our cast has such an amazing ability to play and find new things to do. And so they listen really, really well to each other. So if somebody throws out something new, I'm thinking of you, Nick. Nick will always do something a little different, and the cast will react to that. They listen to him and they can really play off of that. I do love Cop Song. It is a fun, very, very strong choreographed number. They do such an amazing job. I really love Snuff That Girl. It's dictated in the score, but the fact that they are surrounding Hope in this moment and intimidating her with intimidating snaps, it's absurd, and I love it. But one of my other favorite moments in the show, I hope I'm not spoiling it, but like Joellen said, we utilize the entire space. So that means that we have to get people from the catwalk to the floor. And one of my favorite moments is Nick's entrance.
So good.
It's a really strong, perfect moment to kick off the show. And Nick is it's so small and quick, and I love it.
Wow.
This sounds like a ton of fun.
I really hope people come out to celebrate this cast's work. This is such a hardworking and fantastic ensemble, and I want to pack the house for them every night. So please come out. Please come laugh. We can't wait to share it with you.
Something that's really exciting that's happening at Willamette Theatre right now is they're trying to incorporate more musicals into their education and into their season. And so they did do a play with music last season, and this season is Urinetown is the first big musical that they are doing. And so it is a super fun show to kind of dive into having that part of their season and part of that education. We're hoping to pack the house, and we're very excited to see how the community shows up for musical theater at Willamette University Theater.
We're having so much fun. We're really enjoying ourselves.
Much fun.
I wish I was in it.
Don't we all? I mean, it's just this is the kind of show that's an actor's dream, and
Yes,
it's because you get to play with so much, and you get to skewer Broadway, and you skewer society and power and all of that sort of thing. Every time I've seen it, that cast is always having such a good time on stage.
Joellen and I have together, I think we've played every single role while we have worked together through this, haven't we, Joellen?
Yeah. When our 2-woman version comes out, that's going to be big.
We'll let you know. Yeah, let you know.
Well, that sounds terrific. I want to thank you guys for being here. Joellen Sweeney is the director of Urinetown, the musical. Megan Swanson is the choreographer, and Nick Zimmerman is playing Officer Lockstock. And you can go and see Urinetown, the musical, opening November 1st and running through November 17th at the Willamette University Theater. You can get your tickets at wutheater.org, or you can check their Facebook page for information as well. Thank you so much, Joellen, Megan, and Nick, for joining us here on KMUZ Theater Talk.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed and Ann.
It's time to wind up today's KMUZ Theater Talk program. Thank you for joining us. Next Friday at 9 a.m., tune in to KMUZ at 100.7 FM to hear Talking About Art with Joel Zach. KMUZ Theater Talk is a proud member of the Mid-Valley Theater Network.
KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way at 9 a.m. the first and third Friday of the month on KMUZ Community Radio at 100.7 and 88.5 FM, on KMWV FM Dallas at 98.3 HD2, streaming worldwide at kmuz.org, and on the new KMUZ app. Or listen to KMUZ Theater Talk anytime, wherever you get your podcasts.
Ed and I return November 15th with a brand new KMUZ Theater Talk program. Meanwhile, go to our KMUZ Theater Talk Facebook page for news and updates about live theater in the Mid-Willamette Valley.
And if you haven't heard the good news yet, KMUZ is now part of NPR, National Public Radio, and PRX, the Public Radio Exchange. In addition to all the great local news, music, and talk that you love listening to here on KMUZ, we've added some great new programs from PRX and NPR. So check out our new schedule at kmuz.org and let us know what you think of the new programs that are joining our regular lineup. And if you haven't yet joined in to support KMUZ Theater Talk and the rest of KMUZ's great community radio programs, please go to kmuz.org right now, click on the Pledge to Your Favorite Show, and choose KMUZ Theater Talk. And thanks for your support. Until next time, we'll see you in the front row.